I'm just trying to boil it down for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reach back into this memoir years ago. So essentially, the language was so broad and all-encompassing that the Attorney General's office said that this statute was intended to give broad discretion to a board like this to in any way improve the community. So they were comfortable with that project that they analyzed, and then me taking that analysis on this, I'm comfortable that that also fits the statute again because it's so freaking broad. And you know, the statutes are what they are sometimes, and we all have our complaints about how they're written, but that's the way it reads.
So wouldn't this also, you know, we give money to the Renaissance Village.
Mhm.
The Renaissance Village is owned by a nonprofit.
Mhm.
It's not owned by the county,
Mhm.
but we support them. The museum,
Right.
the museum's owned by a nonprofit. You know, it's not owned by the county, but it's a community asset. We support them.
Right.
So I feel like the community choir is owned by a nonprofit, and you know, precedent has already been set with other organizations that we support. I don't see where this one's any different.
Well, and frankly, I didn't even reach that level of analysis because of the AG's opinion is that statute is so broad. It doesn't even reach the analysis of nonprofit or not or anything. It's just if this is doing any of the things identified in the statute, it's okay.
Right.
Thank you. George, do you have an additional comment?
I do, ma'am. I would like a copy of the opinion that you got and any other literature that you put out.
So that's that's legal advice. That's not a public document.
I'm sorry, I was led to believe in your conversation that there was some written documentation, and that's what I'm asking
There is,
for.
yeah, and it's
Okay,
a
other than
legal-
that opinion, I've got an opinion too.
Right.
Okay.
And mine's a legal opinion.
Now-
And there's attorney-client privilege. And
Okay.
I do not have to release any legal opinions that I draft for the purposes of the board's legal questions to the public. So it's up to the board if they want to give that over, but it's certainly not a public document.
Okay, so George, we appreciate your comment, but this is not a debate.
Okay,
We're
that's
discussing
fine,
this.
but you have a problem with that particular
Okay, George,
building
this
with a
is
no
not a debate.
trespassing sign,
Thank you so much.
private property.
Okay, let's move on with the Ely Outdoor Enthusiast is the next one.
Okay, so that one, they requested a laptop a year ago, and we said we were gonna go ahead and buy that when we were buying our timing system. We have not, so this request truly can be removed because we've already said we were gonna buy a laptop for them, and I've had Errol Art today take care of that, so we can just scratch that from the entire thing.
Well, because we're using it for the community.
Well, and that was the whole thing, is EOE has a timing system, and what they needed to go ahead and do their triathlons and multi-stage events were multiple paths and timing systems. So we went ahead and bought one, said we were gonna buy the laptop to go with that, so that if Trails Alliance wanted to put on a 24-hour race, or they would be able to use it, or the pool, when they put on their triathlon, they're able to use it. So it became a public thing. So long story short, we're buying a laptop.
So it's just similar to what we committed to for the cones, et cetera, so that each organization doesn't
Totally.
purchase.
So we have a
identical.
timing system for anybody to use
Right.
it.
Okay.
Did we actually finish the roof replacement? Did we agree upon the price? and
Oh, I guess we
what's
can,
coming out of-
my recommendation is to do it. We've already invested enough money into this, and
Oh, I agree, they desperately need a roof.
Yeah.
the fact that they've been able to work with SHPO and parlay hundreds of
Oh, yeah.
thousands of dollars towards the project,
At
you know,
Brownfields.
in brownfields,
It's
yeah.
been so it could be.
Well, this is quite an involved application, and that's why, so I might have some notes on all the other, that this is nothing compared to what they're securing.
Yeah.
They're amazing, getting many, so, okay, so we're good?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll go on to the Ely Shoshone Tribe, Kyle?
Okay, so I followed up with Michael on this one, and so they're not hosting the powwow this year. They are having the Fandango, and so that'll be, you know, the vendors, the hand games, things like that, but they did not feel comfortable inviting elders from all over the country to come in for this, and I understand that completely. I did sit in a meeting last week where they did receive significant money. you know where it came, is it?
It's a CARES Act.
CARES Act
CARES Act.
money.
Okay.
But what they opened up the conversation last week on is now that they've got this money, moving the powwow grounds and creating more of a park-like setting, which would include landscaping, power for vendors, shade structures for the powwow grounds, essentially all the infrastructure that they asked for in this before that grant came through. They now have money to go ahead and do that, and they are working with their engineer on coming up with a trailhead to access the mountain biking stuff, and OHV parking and horse parking, so that, you know, there's trail access right out of the back of there, and shade and all of that good stuff. Again, long story short, I think this has gotten taken care of in another way, and the fact that the powwow's not happening this year, I think just reinforces the fact that we might be able to just scratch this one.
Okay.
So they're going to be focusing on the tribal festival grounds, the whole package.
Correct.
That sounds great.
And
So-
that is something that I'll continue to work with them on, because it's not a park just for the tribe to access. It's a community-wide park that they're using their location for.
That's why they wanna have the pump track and.
The
whole
pump
thing
track is gonna
involved
be in there, you know, a small ball field.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the thing that I like the most, because we talked mostly about what is the experience for the viewers at the powwow. Well, it's hot, it's
Dusty.
dry, it's windy,
Dusty.
you're begging for the sun to go down, you know, and then it gets really, really cool. Well, they're addressing all of that,
Cool.
so.
Yeah,
All right.
that'll be great.
Great.
Okay, so the next one is, so we're all good with this, that it's being taken care of in another way. I really appreciate the partnership you've developed with them, Kyle.
Absolutely.
White Pine horse races, speakers and amplifiers. Would you like to take that, Kyle?
Well, let me find that one, did I just?
It's right here if you need it.
Oh, you know what, I was looking at it and I just flipped it over. Okay, so that is for the horse race fairgrounds, just so people can hear the announcements. You know, I mean, if you're sitting by them, you can hear them fine, but other than that, it's Charlie Brown's teachers, so.
How old are they? They gotta be like 30 years old.
Old, very old,
Yeah.
very old.
So I think since this is, you know, our big signature event for the summer, and our big signature event every summer, you know, it would be nice to have those, and, you know, so my recommendation is that would be a fully funded.
So didn't you recommend that going to outdoor
Outdoor
rec?
rec,
You know what?
that's what we said.
Yep, actually, that's right.
So let me ask a question on this. Wouldn't the bull riding and all the other events be able to use this too?
Yes, the
Okay,
horse.
yeah.
So it's really,
It's gonna be
For-
Multifunctional.
Yeah.
multi-use, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
the
I
state's
am
stewarding
working
it.
with a bull riding event, hopefully to try to get them out in September as well. So, you know, my goal is to try to attract as many events as possible to the fairgrounds over the course of the year, so it's not just for the horse races, so.
well, and then they were selected as one for when the round opens for Sniplama. That, they've got quite a multi-phase plan, so that's really great. I think the Ag Board is working hard.
Yep.
Good vision.
So yes, move that over to outdoor recreation.
Okay, then the next one is the White Pine Public Museum.
We're doing a strategic plan on July 16th. I've gone to a couple meetings to try to follow up on what our $22,000 goes to. And I think before we give any more money, I want to see a strategic plan. And that's what we're going to work on. I'm going to lead it. It's going to be the same model that I used for the Brewery Arts Center when we were trying to rebuild that organization. And I think the thing with the museum, man, is every time I go in there, I feel like it's a scaled down version of the State Museum in Carson City. It has all of the cool, great, you know, displays, the yard out there, everything is really, really cool and set up for success, but there's just no plan, you know, so this is for computers, I think.
Is it for like they want a retail computer, or what do
They just want to upgrade their technology. I don't know if they're still on Windows 7 or
Yeah.
what their deal is,
Sounds like
but it's one of those organizations that, you know, we decided 2 years ago to go ahead and give them a lump sum. And I feel like we just still need to kind of nurture that relationship into like what we want it to be. And I don't know if computers is the top priority for me.
Yeah.
You know, top priority for me is what hours are you open? You know, what's the user experience like? Does the person who's working it, you know, do they get a tour? Is the person in the front trained to advocate for the whole community, or do they say it's over there? You know, those are the type of things that I
Depot.
want to work with. And I'm stoked Wayne's on the board.
Yes, thank you.
And Bill Holt's on the
agree.
board, and so on July 16th, you know, this is the type of stuff I love doing, you know, like you put me in this situation where we plan for like the next 5 years and how we're gonna accomplish it and what's the timeline and what's the budget, solid, that's what we're looking to do on the 16th. So that is open to any stakeholders that care about the museum, and I think, you know, the ultimate plan is once they're financially stable and they've got full volunteer support and community support, there's so much more that the museum can do for the community, but not until we get that good ground level stability. So,
It looks good, the museum does look good though, I drove by the other day, it looks.
well, and part
it's
of our
all well
commitment,
trimmed and it looks inviting.
part of our commitment is, you know, still take down a lot of the signs that make it look cluttered, you know, which is essentially the one, I mean, one for me is the big Cave Bear sign in the middle of the yard. Take that down and put another cool piece of equipment up there or
Yeah.
something. The facade of the building, you know, right now it's painted to look like giant cinder blocks on smaller cinder blocks. You know, been working with Janet and just to come up with ideas on how to do a better facade, you know, and so the 22,000 that we committed for their operating budget is there, but there's also other things like the public art, you know, we just redid the mural, stuff like that will still be lending support to the museum.
Well, it is a beautiful facility and they've worked hard. So it'll be nice, and I just think once we get a plan, there certainly can be a lot more support. So
Yep.
we had a Point Express meeting today and I was explaining about the partnership with the chamber and how the mission is to have a branded message. And that would be the same thing with the museum, that we're giving them money to be a visitor center, but we have the same message here as the chamber building, as the museum, and including the museum in McGill. So
Absolutely.
making sure everyone has the same training. And they're a great board, so.
Well, and I, just through Historical Society, the Museums Association, Nevada Arts Council, there is money out there that the museum can tap into for improving displays or bringing in rotating displays, bringing speaker, all of that stuff, but that comes, you gotta present a really cool plan for it. So I'm hoping that on the 16th, that's what we come up with. It'll kind of be a reverse engineer way of doing it where, you know, where do you wanna be in 5 to 10 years? Okay, well, what do we need to put into place by way of infrastructure, you know, programming, equipment, all of that stuff in order to accomplish those goals, and that's how you kind of go back to, okay, well, what's step one, you know?
Well, it's certainly underutilized with the events venues. That is a gorgeous facility outside, and so, you know, really increasing their revenues with hosting events.
And I will say that they're doing the rock show this weekend, the Gem and Rock Swap, which is a brand new event. And it's actually, I believe they got 20 vendors now, because that was the request for tables that we got. And so they're bringing in rock vendors, geologists, rock hounds, crystal lickers from around the West. And you're gonna be able to go in
What a
and,
vision.
you know, buy, sell, swap, trade, you know, all that good stuff. So I think that's a really cool event that'll turn into part of our branding for them. So glad they were thinking outside the box.
So with that being on the 16th of July, can we add to the agenda for July a report, an update on what occurred with that strategic plan?
Absolutely.
That sounds great.
We're in partnership,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
All right, so the next one, the last one on the first page is the Ely Renaissance Society Security Camera System.
I'm gonna go ahead, because we have money left over in historic asset preservation, because the Renaissance Society has had problems preserving their windows and their cleanliness at night. I think that falls in line that we can go ahead and purchase the security system for that, to try to ensure that it does not get vandalized at night.
And you might be able to find something, like I've done a lot of security at the jailhouse camera systems, you can find some
Yeah,
pretty good deals on security systems.
And they're committing to a stronger Wi-Fi system
Yeah.
up there so that they can, you know,
Yeah.
review stuff around, so
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and maybe if you and I can get together and look
Sure.
at those quotes, but I'd like to go
Yeah.
ahead.
There's already quotes from Dwight.
Perfect, then we
Yeah,
can go
there's
ahead and
already-
pay for that out of the rest of historic asset preservation.
So one of the things that I've been called up there is the OHB group. They're different side-by-side four-wheelers that are up there having a great time on the railroad tracks, which is really a danger, but they ran into the split rail fence and broke it,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, it's just,
Yeah.
we've
I
had a
think
lot
they're
of
supposed to
time
be
on
on
our
the
hands
railroad.
lately.
They're definitely not supposed to be on the railroad track.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the first one on the second page, the City of Ely Broadbent Park restroom remodel or restroom.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, don't judge us on our spelling on this document, please.
yeah, so I actually, I know they came to us last year about that, and there's been work done as far as with that proposed SNPLMA grant, you know, that would be to actually work on Broadbent Park and make it, you know, there's talk about that.
Mhm.
That has to be organized through the city with the council, but it's a great council, and that's it's a great thing. And so, my question was, okay, so on our financials, you know, exactly how much has the city done? I'm certainly not opposed to it, so I have the total.
I do know last year we put a $12,000 road on
Yep.
after we got denied I think that was the second time we've come in front of the board actually.
Mhm.
But neither here nor there, but we did do a $12,000 growth. And
Yeah.
we're gonna keep chipping away on it. We do host quite a few big venues down there, the Tears, Fears and Beers, of course, the 318 race, and 4th of July, we open up that.
Yep.
It'd be nice to have some nice clean restrooms down there, so it's definitely one of our goals. It'll probably take a couple of years to get there, but
Well, and my thought is, you know, when the county denied the Broadbent Park remodel as a SNPLMA project, it didn't mean that project didn't need to go forward. You know,
Right,
so when I was
right.
talking with Mike and BJ, and they were saying that, you know, well, you guys did put money in there, and you are investing into it, and they were like, well, we still liked the Main Street project for Broadbent Park. I think since we're all partners on it, you know, we should be able to do something. And I think like bare minimum, when I was talking to BJ and Mike, they were like, you know, bare minimum to make it worth $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, you know, and they can still move forward on stuff. I mean, I know this is a hot button topic for some people because the city has room tax already earmarked to a certain amount, but I appreciate Mike and BJ coming in and saying, hey, we like Main Street, we want to partner, we understand that this is something that needs to move forward. So I don't know if we can fully fund the request, but I think we should fund partial, at least at like the minimum of what they said they could do.
So I just had a couple of thoughts on that. The city has been, and these are just questions, the city is running very lean,
yeah,
extremely
for sure.
lean.
Yeah.
Do they have any type of a grant writer?
We do not have that right now.
So I'm thinking that really with our partnership with the city, you know, and I was very curious on totaling, and I asked Jeff Manuel, our CPA, I had no idea how much the city has been allotted for the the years, the fiscal years, and I believe it's for infrastructure, but there's certainly no end to that big hole in the city for infrastructure projects. And so I was curious about, and then that was raised, and it was nice in the sense that the infrastructure for the last 3 fiscal years, not including this month, so it's shy of that, it's almost 680,000.
Yep, yep.
And
And
so,
I've been safeguarding that with my life.
Thank you.
It's
Oh, yeah.
like a go-to, when we run out of money, everybody wants to go to it.
Uh-huh.
And I pounded on the table numerous times for infrastructure, and
Right.
our hopes with that, it is building up and it is nice, and it does sound like a lot, but we're not even to a decent project yet.
That's
you
one
know,
road.
For water.
That's one road.
Sewer.
right,
And so that probably pretty much will go into, I'm assuming, the Main Street project for the water and the water and sewer and utilities, to pay for that in full, so we don't have to take out a 40-year note.
so that was what I was leading to,
It's-
is because the city has committed to $1 million towards that.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
they've been really good about that, but, so I wanted to point that out too, that yes, there is a
Thank you.
large amount, but
That's true.
there's a huge hole there that needs to be
Yeah,
filled in
yeah,
infrastructure
yeah.
projects, so, but I guess to further, it may be developing, if you and Kurt could talk about possibly working together on seeking some grants to help, because they have so few employees there, and I think there's a couple out on maternity right now.
Yep, yep.
Have you been down collecting utility bills
Yeah,
yet?
yeah.
And so is there something that you two could talk about in partnering?
Sure, sure.
I mean, I don't
Just
think,
apply
I don't think we
for
get lunch enough, you
Yeah,
know, to catch up
exactly.
with each other,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Not a problem at all.
I mean, it's, things like Broadbent Park are they're city properties, but they're really, they could be great tourism attractions too. 'Cause
Exactly.
they're there and
Yeah.
it's a park in the middle of
Right.
Ely and it's well kept and
Yeah.
so.
And
We
Main-
don't-
and
Not
Main-
having
Main Street's,
bathrooms.
Main Street's gonna be putting a kiosk in there, you know, I feel like if we did have good bathrooms, you know, you could attract more events down there.
Yeah.
We are gonna have the Vietnam Wall next year,
Yeah.
you know, so no, this project is a lot easier to digest this year than it was last year, the way it was presented. You know, the
Sure.
fact that, you know, you guys have put money into it and we're just asking to forward the project in partnership with Main Street,
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to. But can I propose, can we put $9,000 down and see what adds up at the end here and see if we could do more or less?
Yeah,
And that's kind of
that's good,
splitting the
yeah.
difference, you know, between what BJ and Mike were like, well, anywhere between like 7 and 12. Let's try 9 and see how that adds up, and then we can come back.
But I think and also with a commitment that we need to partner more on that. And
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
Nevada Main Street awarded the White Pine Main Street money for that trailhead kiosk at Broadbent.
Mhm.
So we're already getting grant funding, which can, you know, in some ways can be leveraged as
Mhm.
far as some in-kind and such.
And one of the ideas for a location for one of the new murals was down at Broadbent Park. And when we were looking at it, you know, there was the fence around the Armory building. But I think, you know, there's also the facade of the snack bar that a
That'd
really
be
cool
great
mural
too,
could go
yeah.
on, the side of the
Yeah.
side of the bathroom when it's all said and
Mhm.
done and everything. And so I think there are ways that, you know, tourism money can go into Broadbent Park in other small detailed parts too.
Yeah.
So,
So could that be another item that you cover next month about what you two have come up with? Because
Sure, sure.
Kyle's he certainly had a lot of experience with grant sources. And that's, you know, where you don't have any capacity there, any
Right, right.
support for that.
That'd be great, yeah.
cool.
Because it needs to be done.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
Okay, is everybody okay with that one?
Yeah,
Good.
With a commitment to work together?
Mhm.
Okay, the next one is the Nevada Northern Railway Foundation Star Train viewing area. I actually asked Mark about that today, and there's 18 trains scheduled for next year, and they only have seats left on, no, 5 of them have already sold out for next year. Everything's sold out this year. And so, you know, that's our room night generator, because everybody who comes in, I mean, there are very few locals that ride it. I went out and worked it one night, but, which gave me an idea of really what was going on. And so those are generators right for our room nights, but because of the social distancing, the pad that we already allotted them is now not going to work.
Oh.
So, I mean, that is really what's saving us.
Well, and I would also like to expand the Star Pads use from Star Stuff to actually maybe being like concerts on the train.
Mhm.
You know, so
Oh.
you could set
Really
up
good.
an orchestra or something like that on the
On the
pad,
train, yeah.
you know, and then have the people on the train roll up and then they're on the open air car, you know, going at it that way. So I think there's a way to.
So are they scrapping the old pad? Sorry, go on.
No, no, it
No,
just.
no.
They're just
don't have
They're
it.
just putting extension on it, okay.
Extension.
Right, it's a very nice pad, it's
Yeah.
just too small.
Yeah.
And actually, I could see out there that because it was a trip hazard definitely, and they're not
Mhm.
the high school athletes that ride this.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it was just like, you know, be careful, trip hazard. Oh, well, no, by the way, it's in the dark.
yeah.
And, you know, you hear the coyotes howling, and there are snakes, and it's just like, wow. So, you know, anyway, is that anything else you had? When Kyle and I talked, we talked this over, you had a proposal on a split, didn't you?
Well, I think this is one of those ones that we might be able to split and be able to fully fund it, but split it between capital improvement and outdoor rec. So I was thinking, I think the number that we came up with here was 7773 into capital,
Mhm.
and then 10,977 in outdoor recreation, and that would total to 18,750.
And has anybody had the experience of going out there during
No,
a star training?
I have.
I'd love to.
So, I asked because, you know, it's like any event, I wanna go experience it
Mhm.
first, and so I asked to go help. And we had, a few years ago awarded, telescopes for them. And so they were just getting those all set up, and then the park has magnificent telescopes, but they're not able to bring them at this time because you put your eye right up to it, and it is, you know, it triangulates with, it tells you exactly what you're looking at.
Huh.
And you can't set it on from a planet or the sun or the moon or whatever it is, you have to do, not planets, you have to do stars, and then it tells you. And then you can actually take a picture, put your camera up to the eye hole.
Mhm.
Well, the problem with that is everybody went up to the eye hole, and you see the problem with that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they've had to adapt it, but Superintendent James Woolsey from the park is very committed to the dark night skies, and so they're still helping, but they've had to reduce the number of riders because, social
Mhm.
distancing, but also just to give that full experience, so.
Cause they have to be, what are they, 50% occupancy, just like?
I think they max at 70 right now.
Okay.
And so when I got the message from Mark about that, you know, I was questioning why he said 50%, then I went, oh yeah, they all come in twos. But, you know, I said, well, why are you limiting 70 for next year per train? And he said, well, we don't know, we can always add more,
Yeah, could be somewhere tickets.
but we can't take people away.
Yeah.
So, isn't that amazing on selling out on 2021?
Oh, yeah,
already?
just the publicity they got. was-
Amazing.
Yeah. It
And
seemed
then-
like just starting to die out, and they got another show to pick them up.
Right,
for
and that
orange.
was from the PR group, East River, from
Uh-huh.
Truckee.
From Truckee.
That just kept snowballing from that, but they've started as, it's not Moonlight and Champagne, but Stars and Champagne,
Champagne, yeah.
something like that. But if you know, if you wanna go out sometime and just watch the whole thing, you drive out with them, and it's very cool.
But it is the only ranger-led star train in the country. So while they do other stargazing trains, this is the only one where they actually have rangers from the national park that are educating you on what's going on, so.
Okay, are we good with the split then?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is the Nevada Northern Railway Locomotive 81 Boiler Work and Tubes. And I was unaware that it's so many hours before you have to, of usage, before you have to tear everything down and redo the whole thing. And so 81 needs to get back on schedule, they've raised a ton of money to do it.
And we did fund, this is something they had asked for last year as well, we did fund this, but it was just a phase one project, apparently
I think we've been funding it for a while.
they've been funding it for a while,
Long
you
time,
know,
yeah.
so,
'Cause we
according
basically
to,
had to get the okays for it in the beginning, and the permits to do it, and then the engineering.
and the
we had
first
to get the
funding, the
person to
first funding
certify
was,
it.
yeah, that's what we ran it for, was having that person come in and certify it.
Yeah, which was really expensive. yeah.
The last time I talked to Mark, what is it, either engine 40 or 93, they had to file for an extension to
Mhm.
keep running it until 81 is done. So, timeline wise, 81 should be running already so that they can start dismantling
I think it's
93.
40.
40.
40,
Yeah.
40 is
Yeah.
a problem since the beginning.
Yeah,
So-
so, but we've never fully funded the request.
No,
We've,
I don't think so.
no,
Because we've always
I don't think
batted
so.
around to it.
These
so.
are huge requests.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot to bite off.
Yeah.
Okay, so your proposal then, Kyle?
I wrote down when I was doing my calculations, 23,355.
Okay. And then it would come out of capital,
Yes.
okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, the next one is the White Pine Chamber of Commerce Community Christmas Tree. And we all know the